This is the Timeform Radio preview for racing on Thursday.
And Thursday's racing will focus here on the Timeform preview anyway with Matt Gardner at Kempton. Hello there, Matt, and what sort of card can we expect on the night?
Yeah, quite a tricky one, to be honest. It's there's some good stuff to look forward to at Kempton, but it's not the easiest punting card, I wouldn't have said. But hopefully I've managed to narrow down to a couple of selections anyway.
We'll be looking at the 5:30, 6 o'clock and 6:30, so get the winners in nice and early, hopefully. Now, the 5:30 looks a really good 6 furlong handicap for this time of year anyway, with some good ratings, I'd imagine here. Matt, who comes out on top on the Timeform figures, and will that be your selection in the race?
Yeah, it's tightly knit. It's Mission Approved, the top of the Timeform ratings, and he's not the horse that I'm going to go with. He's a talented horse, Mission Approved. He used to be trained by Sir Michael Stout, now in the care of Luca Kamani. Like I say, talented. He won a maiden back in 2012, won his first start in handicaps when he was still with Stout at Lingfield in the first part, the early part of 2013. He hasn't won since then, placed on numerous occasions, and he's done well for Luca Kamani so far this year. Second in a competitive handicap at Goodwood, a good third in another competitive race at Ascot last time. He's a strong traveller, a notorious strong traveller. He's just a bit tricky for me. I'm not totally convinced that he always puts it in under pressure. There's nothing, there's nothing obvious to sort of crab his attitude with. He just really hasn't. The wins haven't matched the ability that he seems to possess. I think he'll run a good race, but for me, for win purposes, Mission Approved wouldn't be the one. So
who will you be rowing in with?
Zero Money for Hugo Palmer. Hugo Palmer's been going well in the last sort of week, so he's had a couple of winners. I think he had a double at Redcar in recent days. And Zero Money is a horse that's he's potentially well handicapped now. Down to a mark of 89. He hasn't really fired this year, to be honest. But you look at the races that he's run in. The Stewards Cup, the Woking at Ascot. Better signs when he was 6th at Ascot last time. Sort of his first signs of life really this season. That sort of coincided with a dropout of the top-end handicaps. Like I said, down to a mark of 89. He won off 92 last year. On old form, he was placed in very competitive races off marks in the sort of low hundreds. So if he puts it all together, he's got a good draw in 5. If he puts it all together, his handicaps will go close. And hopefully he can sort of take advantage of that.
What do you look for in a horse that, obviously you've mentioned the mark, which is a big plus, but the fact that, the races he's been contesting on the turf this summer on quick ground, there'll be a different feel to this, won't they, where Kempton it might be a bit more tactical with a good position, whereas big fields, 20-plus runners, sometimes in a straight line, it's a totally different ball game. It's
a bit of a lottery, isn't it? Those sort of races can be, but the plus, and something that I tend to look for with sprinters around Kempton, is that Zero Money's a horse that he generally gets on with it, doesn't he? He's sort of ridden pretty prominently. This season he hasn't been found in as much as he has done in the past, but if he's back to form, at his best he used to keep rolling out in front. Like I say, he's got that good draw in 5. I'm fairly certain Danny Tudhope will make a good bit of use of him, and off that mark of 89 he could just take a bit of catching if he gets rolling from sort of the 2 furlong pole. So better signs last time, and hopefully he can build on that. And he's also unexposed on the all-weather as well as an 8-year-old. I think it's only his second start. So that's our selection then for the 5:30, Hugo Palmer's Zero Money.
Ever missed a winner because you didn't know the horse was running? Think you had an unlucky loser and need to catch it next time? You need My Timeform. You can make notes on screen, save your own horses to follow list, and choose from 4 email alert options. Sign up for free at timeform.com. You'll never miss a bet again.
And let's move on to our second Timeform preview with Matt Gardner at Kempton on Thursday evening. This time we'll discuss the 2-year-olds in action in the nursery over a mile at 6 o'clock. It's a small field, 7 declared. It looks as though we'll have joint top weights with Godolphin and Sidebin Soror's Kasusi, who's got the visor on for the first time. But our selection is Muradif. William Haggis trains this son of Zebedee, who's already shown his hand at Kempton over 7 furlongs, and hopefully some more to come in this race. And it doesn't look the strongest nursery in the world, Matt.
No, it's not. I don't think it's a particularly deep nursery. There's a few that you could give chances to, and yeah, for me, Muradif is top of the list. Like you say, won that 7 furlong nursery. That was handicap debut at Kempton back in August off a mark of 70. He's up to 79. He was second at Kempton the time after. And then he went up to, it was the extended mile at Wolverhampton last time. It's sort of a mile and half a furlong, isn't it, around there? I just didn't think he sort of saw it out. He travelled pretty well throughout that race. He didn't quite see it out as strongly as he might have done. But he conceded first run, and it was a performance that, to be honest, suggested that at some stage there was a bigger effort in the locker. And like I say, he's up to 79, he won off 70. I don't think this mark is beyond him. He's top of the time form weight adjusted ratings. Yeah, he's a horse that travels pretty stylishly, and I don't think we're seeing the best of him yet. Like you say, it's not the deepest of nurseries. You can give a couple, you can give a few chances, but yeah, Meredith for me would be top of the shortlist.
He seems consistent. Kasusi, if people are looking to back that horse, he has got the visor on for the first time, but you've got to be really forgiving of a really lamentable effort at Nottingham on soft ground, but he should have acted on soft ground from his debut race. It
was a shocker, wasn't it? And like you say, he shaped pretty well on debut on soft. It was heavy, but I mean, you're loath to sort of use that as an excuse. The fact that Saïd bin Suroor stuck the visor on just his fourth start is also, for me, a negative. Suggests that his temperament isn't all it could be, and the fact that he's been slowly away all three starts so far as well just suggests that there's a little bit of underlying temperament there. The main danger, I think, is going to be Landaway Lad for James Fanshawe, the one horse in here that still has the P on. Handicap debut last time at Newmarket, finished third of seventh, looks on a fair mark. He's still unexposed. I think, on pedigree, the way he shapes, he's going to be suited by further than a mile in time. Meredith, on the other hand, this is probably as far as he wants to go. So if it turns tactical, as it could do with the small field, Meredith is going to have the edge, I think, in terms of a turn of foot. So between, over that pair, that was why I was keener to side with Meredith.
Well, it's always a plus when a horse has the ability to maybe travel a bit better than his mark, so our selection Meredith goes in the 6 o'clock.
Timeform race cards are available in PDF format for all UK and Irish racing at timeform.com.
And the 6:30 awaits us. Santa Fizio will be the selection, the top weight for Keith Dalgleish. But it's interesting that Heisman is coming back out into the action, and he's been off for 185 days. He's the kind of one Heisman who's got a lot more to give. Was it close in him getting the nod over Santa Fizio? Who is your selection?
Yeah, it's a tricky race, this one. I think for me, Santa Fizio is very much a sort of win and place bet, just because of the likes of Heisman and obviously the top-rated Momayaz as well. Heisman, like you say, trained by Ollie Stevens, second on debut at Kempton, went on to win a maiden at the second time of asking when we last saw him back in April. He could be anything, couldn't he? That's the key. He's been off since. He's obviously had, he must have had some sort of problem. You wouldn't be surprised were he to come back and take this. The tongue tie's on for the first time. I wouldn't back him, but equally, you couldn't rule him out, could you?
Yeah.
But like I say, Santa Fizio is a win and place bet, I think, because of Heisman and because of Momayaz. Momayaz is top rated with the P on, 2 from 2 on the all-weather, unexposed, lightly raced. Again, she could be taking that step forward. But it was more of a price thing with Santa Fizio for me, and more of a value option, I think.
He seems a bit like your selection Zero Money, that he's been running in some good handicaps, and he's actually been going quite well in them.
He has, yeah, down to 94 now. On his best form, that'd leave him attractively weighted. He hasn't won for a while. Back at the back end of 2012 is the last time that he won. He's a little bit in and out as well, which adds to the fact why you want to get him on side sort of each way as well. But back on the all-weather at Wolverhampton last time, he did pretty well because he conceded first run that day, nearest at the finish. He's on a long losing run. He doesn't always bring in his A game. If you look at his record, he can throw in the odd stinker, to be honest. But from the likely price perspective, I thought he'd be a fairly decent sort of win and place bet, with the whilst acknowledging the fact that Momayaz and even Heisman could be a fair way ahead of their marks.
He actually ran in the London Mile, the series finale in September, early part of September. So that is a good bit of form, because he was not beaten too far, and I think that stand him in good stead, even though the race is fairly deep. There's some good yards represented here. There is, yeah. I mean, like you say, Santa Fizio at his best off this sort of mark, he's an attractive proposition, isn't he? That effort was good, like you say, 3 starts ago.
back in March, he finished 4th at Wolverhampton in a listed race. The time after that, he was 3rd in another decent handicap at Kempton. So at his best, he should go close. He's entitled to go close. It's just a case of whether or not he brings his A game. If he does, he could be made to look a big price at the finish.
Excellent stuff, Matt. Out of the 3, give us the strongest selection.
Moradif would be the strongest selection, but the other 2 are bigger prices, and they're potentially the sort of more exciting punts, I suppose.
New to Timeform? Register today and we will give you £10 to spend on downloads and features at timeform.com. There's no deposit required. Simply enter the code TFR10 when you sign up. That's TFR10 for a free tenner at timeform.com. See website for full terms and conditions and grab your free credit now.